looked like a businessman, sang like a soul legend, and disappeared from the charts just when we thought he'd peaked. But what really happened to Robert Palmer? You've seen him. The sharp suits, the slicked-back hair, the models standing motionless behind him like mannequins as he delivered one of the most iconic hits of the 1980s, Addicted to Love.
Heart beats, double time, another kiss.
To many, Robert Palmer was the picture of control, sophistication, coolness under pressure. But behind the camera-ready image and the international fame was a man grappling with expectations, reinventing himself at every turn, and battling demons that very few ever saw. Born in a sleepy part of England but raised partially overseas in the chaos of military postings, his story isn't just about music. It's about survival, isolation, and a legacy that still pulses through today's soundtracks. He was praised, he was ignored, and in the end, he died alone, far from the stages that once worshipped his every move. But how did it all begin? How did a quiet kid from Yorkshire end up becoming one of MTV's most polished icons, only to vanish from pop culture's spotlight in the blink of an eye? And what chilling details did the final reports on his death reveal that fans never knew? Stick around. You're about to find out the truth behind the music, the myth, and the mystery of Robert Palmer. From the Mediterranean's sunlit shores to England's industrial heartland, how did a young boy's exposure to diverse cultures shape the future icon's musical journey? Robert Allen Palmer was born on January 19, 1949, in Batley, West Yorkshire, England. His early years were marked by a unique blend of cultural influences. When he was still a child, his family moved to Malta due to his father's position in the British Navy. It was here that Palmer was first introduced to the rich tapestry of American music, thanks to the American Forces Network radio broadcasts. The soulful melodies of artists like Nat King Cole and the rhythmic beats of jazz and R&B left an indelible mark. Returning to England at the age of 12, Palmer's passion for music only intensified. By 15, he was performing with his first band, the Mandrakes, while attending Scarborough High School for boys. His early exposure to diverse musical genres and cultures would later become a hallmark of his eclectic style. Why did Robert Palmer step into the spotlight only to share it? By the early 1970s, Palmer had found his way into professional music circles. He joined Dada, a 12-piece jazz rock fusion outfit that eventually morphed into the band Vinegar Joe. Alongside powerhouse vocalist Elkie Brooks, Palmer's gritty, soulful voice stood out. But the tension was always there. Elkie's bluesy wails, Palmer's sleek delivery. It was a contrast that worked on stage but created creative friction off it. Despite releasing 3 albums and earning a cult following, Vinegar Joe wasn't built to last. And maybe neither was Palmer's willingness to share the spotlight. He was already plotting something bigger, something distinctly his. What would happen when he finally went solo? Would he crumble under pressure or become something unforgettable? If you could change your sound with every album, would you risk losing everything you'd built? In 1974, Palmer launched his solo career with the album Sneakin' Sally Through the Alley, a bold mix of New Orleans funk and British rock.
I feel so bad. This is the worst day I've ever.
It didn't burn up the charts, but it made critics pay attention. Palmer was doing something rare, blending genres without hesitation. From reggae to hard rock, R&B to synth pop, he refused to be boxed in. Each album felt like a different persona. A chameleon? Maybe. But Palmer called it curiosity, and that curiosity would soon turn into global obsession. But when did he finally crack the code of mass appeal? And what role did the birth of music television play in skyrocketing him to icon status? Did Robert Palmer invent the modern music video? By accident? 1985, Riptide drops. Addicted to Love becomes a global phenomenon, not just for its catchy chorus, but for its unforgettable music video. The image was seared into pop culture. Palmer, deadpan and dapper, flanked by a lineup of expressionless models pretending to play instruments. Critics called it style over substance, but the audience? They couldn't look away. The video defined MTV's golden age and gave Palmer his first Grammy. He followed it up with Simply Irresistible, doubling down on the image, the swagger, and the mystery.
Simply irresistible.
But did the man inside the suit ever feel like he was becoming the suit itself? What do you do when you've already made it and someone asks you to start over? In 1985, smack in the middle of his solo success, Palmer was recruited to front a new supergroup, Power Station. Featuring John and Andy Taylor from Duran Duran and Tony Thompson from Chic, the band blended heavy rock with funk, and Palmer's voice was the glue that held it together. Their hit, Some Like It Hot, exploded.
Some like it hot. Some like it hot.
But just as quickly as he joined, Palmer left. Rumors swirled. Was it ego, creative conflict, or had he simply realized that if he didn't protect his brand, he'd lose it forever? His decision shocked the band and the fans. But for Palmer, it was survival. His brand was his armor, and he was just getting started again. Why did the most stylish man in music vanish when the cameras stopped rolling? Palmer was at the top. Grammy wins, sold-out shows, magazine covers. But off stage, he retreated. Married in the 1970s to Sue, with whom he had 2 children, he later divorced and never remarried. He moved to Switzerland, then France. The more famous he became, the more he seemed to vanish from public life. Friends described him as disciplined, almost reclusive. He never drank heavily, never did drugs, unlike many peers. He worked, he wrote, he observed, and quietly, he battled health issues that were slowly taking their toll. Was the pressure to be perfect slowly destroying him? Why was the world so unprepared for the death of a man they thought they'd forgotten? On September 26, 2003, Robert Palmer died suddenly of a heart attack in a hotel room in Paris. He was just 54 years old. He had been in town promoting a television appearance, not partying, not overdosing, not spiraling, just working. The news rocked fans and confused media outlets. He had no history of hard living, no public warnings. Autopsy reports confirmed a sudden cardiac arrest. No foul play, no substances, and yet, something about the suddenness felt unfinished. Why didn't the world see it coming? Or worse, had they stopped looking? How does a man vanish in life but explode in legend after death? Robert Palmer didn't chase fame, it chased him, and when it got too loud, he stepped back. But his influence has never left. Artists today cite him as a pioneer of crossover genres, of branding through image, of staying sharp in an industry built on chaos. His music appears in movies, ads, retro playlists. He's become a symbol of the sleek, controlled performer, the anti-rock star who still shook the world. But the question lingers. Would he have been bigger had he played the game differently? Or was his refusal to play it what made him timeless? What do you really leave behind when the applause fades? Robert Palmer left behind a vault of timeless music, a legacy of elegance, and a lesson in authenticity. He never screamed for attention. He earned it and wore it lightly. His death reminded the world of something we all forget. Behind the persona, behind the fame, is a human being, fragile, driven, and trying to make sense of a world that often makes no sense at all. And maybe that's why his songs still hit so hard, because behind the polish was pain, behind the perfection, a man trying to keep it all together. And now, with all the facts, all the echoes of his legacy in our ears, we're left asking, was Robert Palmer ever really understood? Or did we just fall in love with the image? Stay tuned, because sometimes the truth lives in the silence after the final note.